Chapter 3. The Return of Feudalism. Part 1 of 2. The Sackler family, through Purdue Pharma, aggressively marketed OxyContin while knowing it was fueling an addiction crisis. Hundreds of thousands of Americans died in the epidemic that followed. The family extracted approximately $11 billion from the company, moving wealth through a maze of trusts and corporate entities before it declared bankruptcy. By the time courts intervened, the money had been dispersed into structures designed to be invisible. No one could trace where it went until it was gone. It looks familiar. The word feudalism conjures images of castles and serfs, but feudalism was never primarily about castles. It was about extraction in darkness. A class of people that takes from society while operating beyond public sight, that benefits from courts, contracts, infrastructure, and peace while bearing no corresponding duty. Through legal innovation, modern law has reassembled feudal power structures without feudal titles. The mechanisms are different. The structural result is remarkably similar. What feudalism actually was. Feudalism was not simply kings and peasants. It was a specific system of social organization with distinctive characteristics that are worth understanding before examining their modern counterparts. In theory, feudalism was a system of mutual obligation. The lord provided protection and justice. The peasants provided labor and tribute. Each party owed duties to the other. The lord who failed to protect his tenants violated the feudal bargain as surely as the peasant who failed to pay his dues. In practice, the obligations flowed one way. The lord extracted from those who worked the land a portion of the harvest, days of labor, fees for using the mill or the oven. The peasant had no way to see the lord's ledgers, no mechanism to verify what was taken or where it went. Legal structures shielded the holder from scrutiny. The books did not open, and no one could make them open. Feudal power had 4 defining characteristics. Hereditary. Power passed through bloodlines, not merit. The son of a lord was a lord. The son of a peasant was a peasant. Birth determined destiny. Extractive. The holders of the estate took from producers without proportional contribution. The lord did not create the harvest, he claimed a share of it. The contribution he returned, called protection, was in many cases protection from threats he himself posed. Opaque. The lord's holdings, dealings, and extractions were invisible to those he ruled. No public record, no right of inspection, no mechanism for the governed to see what was being taken or where it went. The feudal estate was a black box. The lord's wealth was whatever he said it was. Perpetual. Feudal estates outlived individuals. The lordship passed from father to son indefinitely. Wealth and power compounded across generations without natural endpoint. The American Revolution was explicitly a rejection of this system. The founders had lived under hereditary privilege and opaque power. They designed a republic to prevent its return. The American rejection of feudalism. The Constitution contains provisions specifically designed to prevent the emergence of a new aristocracy. Article 1, Section 9, prohibits the federal government from granting titles of nobility. Article 1, Section 10 extends this prohibition to the states. No American can be made a duke or an earl. There are no hereditary offices, no permanent claims to power based on bloodline. The founders also feared concentrated, invisible power in non-governmental forms. Early American corporations were tightly controlled. They required specific legislative charters that defined their purpose and duration. A corporation chartered to build a bridge could not pivot to banking. Charters expired and had to be renewed. Corporations that abused their privileges could be dissolved. The founders recognized that concentrated power threatens liberty, regardless of whether it wears a crown or a logo. A republic requires rough equality of power among citizens. Permanent concentrations of wealth and influence inevitably corrupt democratic governance. Power derives from the people, and the dealings of the powerful are visible to the people. No permanent overclass. equal duty under law. Citizens, not subjects. What went wrong? How feudalism returned. Through a series of legal innovations over 2 centuries, American law reassembled the 4 structural features of feudal wealth: hereditary, extractive, opaque, and perpetual, out of modern parts. The mechanisms look nothing like castles or charters. The shape they produce is older than either. Corporate personhood became a shield. The legal fiction that corporations are persons was originally a convenience, allowing corporations to enter contracts and be sued. But it evolved into something else, a way for human controllers to disappear from view. Corporations gained rights, including free speech, religious exercise under the Hobby Lobby decision, and due process, without proportional duties. Human controllers disappear behind corporate liability. When a corporation pollutes, defrauds, or kills, the response is that the corporation did it. But corporations are not people. They are abstractions. The humans who made the decisions, who profited from the harm, vanish from view. The corporation did it has become the modern equivalent of the feudal black box. The human controller is invisible. The system proposed in this book reverses that fiction. On the public ledger, no corporation signs. Only the humans behind it do. Limited liability, inverted risk. The principle of limited liability means that investors can only lose what they invested. If a corporation causes harm exceeding its assets, victims go uncompensated. The investors keep their other wealth. This was justified as encouraging investment and entrepreneurship. But it also means that risk is socialized, while profit is privatized. The corporation takes chances with other people's lives and livelihoods. If the gamble pays off, shareholders profit. If it does not, the losses fall on workers, communities, and the public. The same asymmetry, extraction without proportional exposure, is what modern limited liability reconstructs in statute. Immortal entities extend the perpetuity feature. Feudal estates already outlived their holders. The estate passed from father to son indefinitely. Modern corporations and trusts do the same thing with greater efficiency. A dynasty trust compounds wealth across generations while avoiding estate taxes entirely. In states that have abolished the rule against perpetuities, these trusts can last forever. The old estate at least needed an heir. The modern trust does not even need that. The labyrinth of shells and trusts obscures control. Consider the structure revealed in the Trump fraud case. Dozens of entities, limited liability companies, corporations, and trusts layered on top of each other. Assets nominally owned by one entity, controlled by another, benefiting a third. When the question of who is responsible is asked, the answer disappears into the fog. The obscurity is intentional. The beneficial owner, the human who actually controls and benefits from the wealth, is hidden behind layers of legal abstraction. Trustees claim they are just following instructions. Grantors claim they have given up control. Nominee directors claim they are just lending their names. The result is concentrated, inheritable, opaque control. The same 4 structural features the founders thought they had abolished, rebuilt out of different legal parts. The people who exercise that control benefit from society's protections and wield enormous influence, but their existence as controllers is hidden from public sight. This is an excerpt from The Last Tax by Dan Schafer, available now in paperback, hardcover, ebook, and audiobook. Links are in the description. Subscribe for more as they become available.